Aiyuk's out for the season. The Niners have a lot of wide receivers. He plays a specific position. He plays a lot of that X spot on the left side, on the back side of the formations where he's one-on-one against often the best cornerback. It's a tough spot to play because on the line of scrimmage, you got to be pretty strong and you got to be shifty, but you got to be able to use your hands to beat the press. You got to be able to beat the press some way or another. You can't just run by the guy. So who's going to step up in Brandon Aiyuk's absence? Who's going to fill the void?
Well, I think the obvious answer should be Jennings, right? We're talking about a guy who played extremely well. I mean, through the first 3 weeks of the season, he was one of the leading receivers in the league. Now he's hurt now, but we're talking about the rest of the season. He's going to be back at some point, whether it's this week or right after the bye. I would imagine, unless that hip injury, there's something really serious going on that we don't know about, which is also possible with the 49ers. But assuming he'll be back in the next game or two, it's going to be him. And I think what's nice about this is that if we can find a silver lining, Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing, I think both would be best served as slot wide receivers. So whichever it is that wins that job, whether it's Pearsall or Cowing, they're going to be better when you give them two-way go options, when you can play them off the line of scrimmage so that they can't get pressed into an oblivion. And that's going to help both of them out and give them confidence as they go and navigate through their rookie year. So I think Jennings has got to be that X receiver. He's not going to do things exactly like Aiyuk, but he can do things that an X receiver can do, at least to help out his teammates and get them open and what have you. So,
yeah, I'm with you on that. The one thing with Jennings, he doesn't have the speed you'd like to have from an X receiver. Sure. I mean, ideally, you'd like your X receiver to be Calvin Johnson or Julio Jones. And so he can't run some of those clear out routes that Chris Conley would run, but still the ability to get open on the boundary, make difficult catches. You're not really asking for a lot of yak from your X receiver. So I think he could step up, but I'm worried about his hip, man. The Niners are, I stopped listening to what they said about injuries at this point, because every time someone's injured, their tone is, oh, it's no big deal. And I'll say, and he'll be fine. And then he's gone. So he wasn't at practice today. I'd like to see him running around on the side field. I saw Debo running around on the side field. That makes me feel like Debo has a real chance to play this weekend. But Jennings, I haven't seen him in weeks, a couple of weeks. So I don't know if he's going to be stepping up. Maybe after the bye week. I don't know about this week. So I think it's interesting. Like, what about Ricky Pearsall? He's a first round pick. Can he play X, or can they move him around and play him in a different spot? And can he replace, at least if he can't replace Aiyuk's spot on the field, can he replace Aiyuk's production in the box?
This year's Aiyuk's production, or last year's Aiyuk's production?
This year.
Because probably this year's, maybe this year's.
But no one's going for 1,300 and no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the problem is that nobody on the team, including Aiyuk, was replacing last year's Aiyuk production. That's the real issue at wide receiver. And so when you look at it this year, it's like, okay, yeah, you're replacing Aiyuk, the name, and the X receiver, but you're not replacing last year's production. And so that's where it gets interesting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Ricky being in that spot, and maybe that's what they do, I just feel like it's asking for a lot. I mean,
I agree.
This last week he was suited up. It's really funny because somehow there was this narrative that was floating around that he had the best week of practice of all the wide receivers. And where? How? Because he didn't look like he belonged at times during training camp, and then he missed all the preseason. And then you're trying to sell me that he came back after 6-7 weeks off and was just amazing week one. Okay, maybe, but Jennings didn't play, and that's why I think he suited up. I think they would have preferred to not have him suit up for that game and probably suit up for this one, would be his first game back. And even then, it took injuries to Debo, sickness from Debo, and Aiyuk for him to really get on the field. And even then, it was still like, well, it's more Conley and Cowing and Bell, and then a little bit of Pearsall. So it's not like Pearsall just all of a sudden is wide receiver 3 even. He's going to have to battle it out with some of these other guys. A veteran, a veteran and then a rookie, and then I don't know why he would battle it out with Bell. Bell shouldn't be on the field, but Kyle seems to love him for whatever reason. So, there is that too.
It's funny. When we talk about replacing Brandon Aiyuk, we're talking about 3.5 catches per game this season. Right? So not a whole lot. And obviously, if Jennings is healthy, he's earned another target or two a game, some more snaps for sure. He should start. And Pearsall's a first-round pick. There's a lot of expectations on him. But to me, the move, if you take roster politics out of it, I love Jennings. Yes, he deserves more. Cowing deserves more too, though. And I don't care what position he plays, if he's in the slot, if he's a Z, if he's an X. I don't give a damn. He's currently averaging 25 yards a catch, and he's a threat on jet sweeps. He's a threat on screens. He's a threat on slants. He's a threat on slant and goes, stutter move. Like, there are things you can do with him, and I'm not saying give him 10 targets a game, but get him 3 catches, 3 catches. Yeah. And one of those is going to be a big play, and maybe a run too. Jacob Cowing needs to be a fixture in this offense now.
Yeah, I would say a run or 2 and 5 targets a game is totally fair. I'm with it. I'm totally with it. And that's where Pearsall should come in my opinion. Pearsall should be the punt returner.
There you go.
Well evaded Cowing. He can be your slot wide receiver. That's what I would love to do. I think that's a great idea.
I think Cowing's a much better receiver than he is a punt returner. I haven't seen much of a feel for him as a punt returner.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel anxiety exuding off of him as a punt returner, which is fine. I have anxiety even when I'm not returning punts, so I can't really knock him.
Yeah, for sure.